All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Arcade Tirade, the podcast that's all about video games. I'm Zuve.
And I'm Phantom Outlaw.
And this is the episode for November 30th, Obscure Video Game Consoles. All right. So.
Episode XXX.
Episode XXX. You figure it out. So what's up, man?
I don't know. Apparently Charlie Brown is racist. What else is going on in the world? Yeah, apparently him sitting at the table on the opposite side of the table in a different colored chair somehow is racist these days.
I didn't know the chair was a different color.
Yeah, apparently that him sitting on the opposite side of the group makes him makes the whole Thanksgiving episode racist.
Well, I know he was on the other side, but I didn't know that he had a different colored chair, too.
Yeah, I mean, the oppressiveness.
It's Charles Schultz's hidden agenda right there. Even though he was added as a tribute to Martin Luther King Jr.
So one of those, yeah. Get idiots, armchair, fucking advocates. Other than that, everything's well. I just found it out today. I'm like, because I try to stay away from it. And I try to, laugh at these assholes, but it's so aggravating that they just look for stuff. Yeah. And it's coming into video games, too. It's, it's like any form of escapism has been the targets of these SJWs. And it's like, apparently Mithra's pants was censored or something in Smash Brothers, but added to Xenoblade 2.
Well, I remember the Mr. Game & Watch feather headdress, but Mithra's pants. No, I didn't know about that. Oy.
Yeah, today an update on Xenoblade 2 and the Turner Country DLC game came in, and that censored sprite of Mithra was added in the game as an costume.
These guys can't write. They can't do grammar at all. They just rush this shit out.
For her, and no, they didn't remove her original look. It's just this is an extra costume. Okay, sorry.
So.
All right. Oi.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, do you hear that?
No.
Exactly. New chair.
Oh shit.
So I can relax all I want now. I just got to stay in front of the mic.
Does it feel as comfortable as the old chair?
Was it comfortable?
Does it feel as good as the old chair?
It's not really a new chair. It's just another chair. I don't like it quite as much because it's a little shorter. It's not as comfortable. So, no, but it's fine. It gets the job done.
It's crazy. Like the old shit, that's worn out, drawers, underwear, are so comfortable. And you get some new ones, it's it's supposed to be better, but you're used to.
Well, you got to break it in.
Like that, yeah. Yeah, I guess.
You got to break everything in. So, before we get too much into news, what have you been playing lately?
Honestly, don't remember. Spyro, because I haven't been consistently playing anything, but I think Spyro probably has been the most consistent of the new games I have been getting. Because I got dabbled with Dragon Quest XI. Me and my daughter played Diablo 3 together. That game was on sale. Soul Calibur and Pokken Tournament. I try not to count the fighting games because I play them either every day or every other day. So I need to keep a consistent, actually put myself on the schedule to play some of these games. I've got a ton I need to finish. My daughter's playing Dragon Quest Builders on the Switch, I think last weekend. I'm like, man, I want to get back to that, but I got to beat this other stuff. So I'd say Spyro has probably been the most consistent thing I've been playing. I fucking love Spyro.
Yeah, the whole world loves Spyro. I keep hearing about that one. I've been all over the place, too. So, of course, I've started playing. I got Super Mario Party, which it's all right. It's good for when friends come over.
Yeah.
I've been back on Super Mario Odyssey again. I still haven't beat it. It's just kind of kiddie to me that I get kind of turned away from it after too much of it. It's still a fun game. I can't complain too much about it. It's a Mario game. They did a good job. I know that's like 2 years old now, but and then of course I finally started playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which you were right, fantastic game.
Yes.
The difficulty, I guess the difficulty's not really an issue because that's always a Castlevania element.
Right.
I like how non-linear it is. Some of it got a little repetitive, but then I found the warp points. The one thing that bugs me is that, okay, as far as I'm aware, there are 2 Castlevania games where you can whip in 8 directions.
Mm-hmm.
And Symphony of the Night, Super Castlevania and Symphony of the Night, but you only do that when you're playing Belmont in the very beginning. Then you're stuck with Alucard, who has that sword.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of frustrating, but it's not that big of a problem. I just thought it would be cool. I mean, Belmont's overpowered at the beginning, but, he could at least whip in 8 directions. It would have been nice to have throughout the game.
I could swear, and I can't remember if it was a code or not, from when I played on PlayStation, that I could be totally off base with this. I thought you could play one of the Belmont after, well, maybe I'm thinking about there was another Castlevania game. I think you can play with Alucard, Belmont. I got to find out which game that is. I think I have that on Xbox.
I remember.
Quote me on that. I have to find out.
Well, you're probably talking about another one, but I remember in the third one you could play as 3 different characters.
Now, if you play the Game Boy Advance Castlevania, was basically...
I've got to play those.
It's basically the one you're playing now, but with the whip.
Right. So they just stuck to the Metroidvania formula.
Yeah, and made each character, but you use the whip with, I know the very first one, and I think it's 8 directions in that one. That was a really good one. All of the Game Boy Advance ones were fucking good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't talk about those enough. Those are actually really good.
We'll talk about them. Tell the people.
If I remember, I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I played Game Boy Advance. I know I had a great time with them. Like, those were the first games I remember buying when I got a Game Boy Advance. Like, yeah, Castlevania was like, I jumped on those quick.
Yeah, if I had known, I would have bought that shit back when I was a teenager.
Harmony of Dissonance.
Oh yeah,
that dude looks.
Yeah, Circle of the Moon.
Yeah.
I remember reading about them when they first came out.
Man, they were good. Those were really good games.
I thought, damn, these are cool, but
yeah,
stupid teenage me, I was thinking, I'm not interested in this. Looks too gothic. I don't know, man. My tune changed later on, clearly.
And Aria of Sorrow.
Yeah, I remember that one.
All 3 of these were fucking good.
One of them.
I never understood the Japanese subtitles to a lot of these games. I'm like, what the Destinies of Reconnaissance and shit like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's not a real title, but it's just ants is always on the end of one of these. I guess it's translated differently, but I don't know. I always found those
Requiem of Epiphany.
Yeah, shit like
Castlevania 37.
But at least the games were good, so.
Yeah, well, otherwise, while we're on games that are based on leveling up, I've been playing, as I mentioned the other day, I Am Setsuna, finally. And that is... Honestly, I haven't heard that much hype. I think you were the one that told me about it.
I heard a lot of hype when it came out on PC. Was it on Steam when I first... Yeah, I think I heard it on Steam when I first heard about it. I don't think it came to consoles till some time later. I could be wrong, but I remember there was some noise about it when it was out. I want to say Steam had it first, and I want to say the PC had it first, so it probably didn't hit console people much if they're not into PC gaming at all. Because I watched Twitch so much, that's why I even knew about it.
Well, it's basically a love letter to old school RPGs. It has the fighting system of Chrono Trigger. It's almost a replica of Chrono Trigger's fighting system.
Oh, okay.
I'd say it's a little more... Of course, I'm only 3 hours in, but so far it's a little more simplified than Chrono Trigger. But you you do have magic. You have combination spells with other team members. Your location on the battlefield determines a lot. Like, there are enemies that use self-destruct, but if you're not in their range, then you'll be fine. The plot's really good. The characters are strong. My only real criticism so far are that it's a little too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I guess I'm used to grinding. There's really, so far, no need to grind.
Oh, I see.
But it does, even then it still feels like sometimes the battles just become too repetitive, which it's kind of hard to avoid that in any RPG. At least that I've played so far. But right now, I got it because there was a sale. There might still be a sale going on right now for it. It was like 30% off.
You got it on Switch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on sale on other places.
I'd say if you like grindy stuff, man, Warframe is definitely that.
No, I don't necessarily like grindy. I think it's just that I'm not used to not having to grind all the time.
Oh, I see.
That I feel I don't trust it. What's going on? Something's going to kick my ass. I'll tell you what,
I see.
One of the first major bosses did put up a decent challenge, so I will say it's not too easy. I said it was too easy, but it's not too easy.
I think as many games as I have, I don't mind too much not having to grind at all that hard, because I would like to level up as high as I can, as max as I can, and then move on to another game.
Yeah.
And if it's got a shitty story, I really want to get the hell out of it.
Oh, well, you won't have a problem. Really, you won't have a problem with this one.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I Am Setsuna is a great game. Like I said, maybe a little too easy so far, but still good. I'm curious how long it's going to last. The whole world takes place in the whole world is covered in snow, and sometimes the scenery gets a little repetitive because everything's a snow world. I kind of wish that there would be a little more like diversity in the like environments you're in. But who knows? Maybe I won't have a problem with it down the line. So the last one that I've been playing, and I found out about this about a week and a half late, and I can't forgive myself for this, but I finally started playing it, was that demo of Deltarune, that new game from Toby Fox, the guy that did Undertale.
Oh, okay.
And it's only a 3-hour demo. He's going to hire... He says if he ever finishes the game, he's going to hire a team to help him do it, but he's never worked with a team. He did Undertale entirely on his own. But...
okay.
Yeah, Deltarune, which is an anagram of Undertale, is actually the game that he always wanted to make. But he just didn't have the resources. So he released it on Halloween, which is appropriate because the game is eerie as hell. That's the thing about Undertale. It's quirky, it's funny, but it's also unsettling. A lot of tense moments. The characters are great. It's kind of... I don't know how much of Undertale you ended up playing, but it does kind of lean heavy on anime references. Which really isn't a problem, but it's something that I don't really like get into as much. It's not real-life anime, like franchises, but the characters have a heavy anime influence.
Oh, okay.
But I think you'd appreciate the characters. They're really unique. They're really well-designed. And the graphics are, a reference to 16-bit gaming, but they have some more modern elements in there, too. And the combat system's improved. You can actually have a 3-party system now. In the other one, in Undertale, it was just one on everybody. But yeah, so that's what I've been playing. That's what you've been playing, huh? So, what's going on? Let's go on to news. So, I just read this story from Fox, saying that esports are more and more across U.S. high schools becoming an official after-school activity. It says here, I mean, I can summarize. It's pretty much, they have the story of these high schools they go to, and they're implementing these after-school gaming clubs, and they feel like this is a good idea to get more kids that didn't want to play, like the physical sports involved in something in their school. Then, of course, you have some of the people they talk to in the story, they're a little worried about it because they think, oh, well, this is going to, not give them any incentive to go outside and play. They're going to gain weight. They're going to be antisocial. But then there are people that say, well, actually it increases their cognitive thinking skills, and it gives them more ability or more opportunity to socialize with people. So it's like anything else, I think. It depends on the case. It depends on the person. I mean, you have the arguments that video games cause violence, whereas other people would argue that it actually helps curb violence in people. And I think it really just comes down to the person. Overall, I don't think that video games cause people to go out and shoot up schools or anything like that. But I think it's a good thing. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I initially thought about I think I was on, the gaining weight, I guess. When it comes to the fact that we don't have, when I was teaching, there was no outdoor activity for them. I think it's important, at least. Now, you said this was high school or junior high school?
High school.
High school. Oh, I think about high school. I don't really have a big issue with that. If it was like middle school or grade school, I would be kind of like, kids kind of need to go outside, run around a little bit because, first of all, they got all that energy.
Yeah, and you got to form those habits when they're young.
Yeah, I think by the time you get in high school, you're kind of getting to an age where you're going to start going to college and everything. High school, it don't bother me so much. I think if it was, like I said, grade school or middle school, junior high school, then I'd be like, they need activities, because when I was teaching, we didn't have any gym or anything. They took all that out. And it's like, why? First of all, they took out music, took out art in a grade school level. And again, I know this is high school. I'm just trying to think if this was introduced to younger ages, I would probably have concern for it. Because at that age of development, they need to move around. I mean, I used to have to take my students out every once in a while just so they don't sit all day. They sit 8 hours a day, just in the only class they got to get to, or change the class to, was my classroom, which was computer lab. And then they go back to their other classroom, and they only got to go outside once. That, if it got cold, they couldn't go outside at all. So, but again, they got to get on the parents too. Parents need to freaking take their kids outside.
Yeah, you can't just do everything. You can't, expect the school to take care of everything.
I don't. Huge concern about that. Like I said, they'll 3 or 4 years there, they'll be ready for college, and hopefully they
and then go off and ruin their lives on their own.
Yeah, something like that.
So I had a list here, as I tend to have, of games coming out in December. Let's see. Persona 3, Dancing in Moonlight, and Persona 5, Dancing in Starlight will be coming out for the PS4 and the PS Vita on December 4th. Now, you've played the Persona. You're a big fan of the Persona games.
Yes.
So you've played those.
Yes.
And you would have nothing but positive things to say about those.
Yeah, I have. The ones I've played have been, I have a hard time complaining about any of them. Now, these new ones, what was it called again?
Well, that's the thing I'm looking at here. So it's Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight.
dancing.
So were there dancing elements in those games?
Oh, not in the ones I played. So I'm assuming these are some kind of...
Okay, so... Yeah, so I think this might just be like a DDR kind of clone. It says it's a rhythm game it's rhythm game meets Persona 3 RPG. The idea that the characters from Persona 3 are dancing, you have to hit the right notes.
Oh, okay. Nah, I probably...
And the dancing takes place in the Velvet Room.
Almost likely I'll be passing on these. They did make
yeah, okay, so
fighting game of the Persona characters a few years ago, which is actually pretty good. But I'm not a huge fan of taking RPG characters and putting them in other types of things, but that's just me.
Right, yeah, I'd probably skip on it too. Of course, I haven't played the original Personas, but I'd be more interested in those instead of just a DDR clone. So then we have Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden. That's also December 4th, and that's going to be PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Let's see, so it's a dystopian future. Humanity's wiped out. It's based on the tabletop game Mutant Chronicles, Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden. Have you heard about this?
Road to Eden sounds familiar.
It says allows players to play as animal and human hybrid creatures, and you explore a world. It's a tactical game, turn-based in real time. So you have you can control 5 characters at any given time. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about this up until now. I don't know. Could be interesting. Then we have Just Cause 4, also December 4th. Is that a Friday?
No,
No, that's not a Friday.
Oh.
No, that's a Tuesday.
Yeah, now they sell games new releases either on Tuesday or Fridays now. It was, I think, I don't know how original it was, but I remember, they would do Fridays and then it went to Tuesdays. Now I think they're doing both days of the week for new releases. It's Tuesday or Friday now.
Okay. So, Just Cause 4.
3 was so
December
good.
4th.
It's like mindless. It's one of those games like, it's just fun blowing up shit.
Yeah, so can you explain what the games are about?
Well, I've only played the 1. That's part 3. And
Well, it's probably similar.
What's the guy's name? He has this one gadget where he uses hook. I'm assuming it's been across all the other Just Cause games. Rico, yeah. And just the way you can do explosions with this hook attached to another object plus another object, and it's kind of like, is this sandboxy? I would say it doesn't feel kind of sandboxy in a way. I mean, you have missions and stuff to do, but in those missions, it's kind of arcadey. It's like an arcadey action game, but it's got some depth to it too.
It says here there's one big difference between Just Cause 4 and the other Just Cause games. It's going to use a new game engine called Apex, which can create different types of weather effects, improved AI, smarter NPCs because of that. So, I don't know. Could be worth checking out. That's Square Enix, and that's on PC, Xbox One, and PS4.
That game is pretty fun.
Next we have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, the retail version. And that's also, guess when that's coming out? Guess when that's coming out?
The 7th? December 7th?
Nope, the 4th.
Oh, the 14th? Oh.
No, the 4th, December 4th.
Right, something. December 4th.
That's Xbox One and PS4. Originally released in 2017 digitally. That's why it's a retail. This is the final, it's finally a retail release. Are you familiar with this game?
Yeah, they made a big deal about the facial expressions of the character. It's like a artistic achievement of some sort. I don't know how good the game. I've seen people play it. It's none I cared about, but
So it looks like an open world puzzle solving. Let's see here. Senua must embark on a journey through Helheim, the hopes of saving her dead lover from death. Well, okay, the soul from death. Fighting monsters, solving puzzles, using symbols that only she can see. Very dark-looking game. Of course, that's way out of my alley, seeing as I don't own either console. But it does look really impressive, the graphics.
yeah, it looks real good.
So another December 4th game. Override Mech City Brawl Supercharged Mega Edition for Xbox One. So it's a giant mecha fighting game. It's... Let's see here.
Is it 2D or 3D?
3D. It looks 3D.
The last mech game that I bought was what the hell is it? It's a you ride a mech to deliver pizzas. It's really good. It's actually a good game. I think I got it on sale or something. Because I saw somebody on Twitch, one of the Twitch's podcasts I was watching, and they were showing that game. And it was like stupid when you first see it, and then you actually play. It's like, this is some fun shit. Like you could like destroy stuff as you're delivering pizza. Some goofy crap like that, but it's actually not a bad game. What was the last mech game that I bought?
And what's that one
I'm trying
called?
to find the name of it. My daughter's on Susan, I can't go look it up. Mech pizza delivery. Yeah, I think it's cell shaded. It kind of reminded me of Jet Set Radio a little bit, the way it kind of looks. Is it Mecha Pizza? Oh, Macaron? No, that's not it. I have to see the pictures of it. I mean, the title of it kind of describes the game, so yeah, I think it's Mech Pizza.
Is that like mock pizza from Earthbound?
I don't know.
I just had to throw that reference in.
Yeah, I think it's just Mecha Pizza. Mecha Pizza.
Mecha Pizza? Well,
Pizza Titan Ultra.
That makes sense.
Is it Pizza Titan Ultra? I think that's the name of it.
That's a Japanese as hell name right there.
But I think it's made by like an American company. I could be wrong though.
Oh, of course. So it's an American impression of what a Japanese mecha pizza delivery game would be then.
Well, it's by an indie studio called Starwall. WHAL. Apparently made a game before. It's pretty fun though. It's pretty fun. Titan Pizza Ultra.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of it. And I think I got it either on sale or some shit, and I'm like, I'll get it. Another game I was thinking too, I should have brought up was Neon Drive. I think it's called Neon Drive.
What's that?
It's a synthwave. You drive a car, and you drive the car. You dodge objects with the music. I think I got it for like $2.
Oh.
And then music is actually, I love synthwave and retrowave shit, so it's, music is pretty good in that game.
So next, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate comes out on December 7th. Of course, that's Nintendo Switch.
Pearl Harbor Day. Pearl Harbor Day.
Oh, yeah. And Smash Day.
You get to smash shit on Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah. All over again.
All over.
Ooh. And as we were just talking about some odd games, a retail version of... Now, I always say this name wrong. According to different people I talk to. Katamari Damacy? Reroll? Damacy.
Yeah, Katamari Damacy.
My silly Western accent. Katamari Damacy Reroll, the retail version, December 7th for the PC and the Switch.
I gotta get that. I missed out on them when it came out ages ago.
Yeah, me too.
That's definitely a good Switch game. I'd definitely get it on Switch.
So that's pretty self-explanatory. You're a little creature from another planet trying to roll as much garbage together to form another planet.
Yeah.
Do I got that pretty much?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to check that shit out. I'll be getting that when that comes out. So this next one reminds me of Starship Troopers, Earth Defense Force 5, and that's going to be on December 11th for the PS4. So you're a defense force, looks clearly to be in the future, fighting against alien threats. In the picture here, they're fighting giant ants, like 20-foot-tall ants. It says here, you'll come face-to-face with the alien species from the planet Primer, insect-like invaders. It says here, it's similar to B-movies of the 50s. They don't take themselves too seriously. The graphics aren't over the top. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. They will have fantastic graphics and great voice acting.
Is that the game? Is that a sequel or a remake of the Earth Defense one that was on the Super Nintendo? Came out in 91 by Jaleco.
I remember that. I remember the company you're talking about. I don't know. It doesn't say anything about the Super Nintendo game. It says here the game will have over 100 missions and 5 different difficulties, and a 2-player co-op mode. So then we have Insurgency Sandstorm on December 12th, and that's PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. Did you ever play the first one?
What was that one again?
Insurgency Sandstorm?
No.
So it looks like a shooter. You'll be playing as a revolving squad of characters with different missions. Oh, so this is based on real events. It starts with the 2003 invasion of Iraq and goes all the way to the modern day. It'll have a tactical multiplayer component, as well as console split screen, customizable characters, combat's close quarters. It says here, New World Interactive promises that it will greatly expand on what was built with the first Insurgency game, which neither of us have played, so, I mean, it seems like a wartime simulator, which, of course, that's going to sell like all hell, I'm sure. So then last on the list, Borderlands 2 VR. And that's December 14th for the PSVR. So Borderlands 3 is still on the horizon, but Borderlands 2 now is going to have a VR version. Did you ever play the Borderlands games?
Yes, I like them a lot.
So what would you think of a VR Borderlands?
Well, then I'll have to get into VR. I can't make a judgment because I haven't messed with VR too much. So, I guess it'll be okay. It's already in first person. If they do it in VR, it'd be in first person with headset, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's all that can be said because neither of us have really fucked with VR.
Mm-hmm.
So, my last story. Could it be that there will be a Dreamcast Mini or Dreamcast Classic? Sega might have confirmed it. So, on November 27th, Dreamcast's Twitter account, or I don't have the translation, but a guy with the Twitter account by the name Dreamcast Gaga tweeted, Sega Japan suddenly asking people to pick their favorite Dreamcast variation from the following. Dreamcast Mini confirmed. So there's really not anything else to go by at this point. Oh, well, there's an image of different color variations of what looks like a miniature Dreamcast console. It even has the memory card with the little pixelated screen on it. So that could be a big thing. But I wouldn't see it coming out soon unless they just do it all of a sudden. They spring it on us like a surprise.
If they do, I would think they'd bring it out by next Christmas or somewhere in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're still having people like name games, no, they're not. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, there's no way it's coming out now if they're just asking people what their favorite games are.
Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, Jet Set Radio.
Bangayo.
Shinmu.
Bangayo. Oh my god, that game is so fun. It's a multi-directional mech shooting game, and the story is about, I think, space fruit or some shit. But the game is really good. Treasure I don't even know if they make shooters anymore. Maybe in Japan. They used to make these hardcore shooters on Dreamcast and PS2. Silhouette Mirage is one of the games I got. I think they did their game on came on Dreamcast first, and you can probably find it on Xbox, and even the Switch I think has it too. It's a shooter where you shoot, depending on what the enemies are, if they're black or white, and you have to switch between each laser type, if you will. What's that game called? Ikaruga, some shit like that. Ikaruga?
What about Shenmue?
I have that on most of the games they're talking about, I probably already have.
Well, wasn't that originally on the Dreamcast?
Yes. Yeah. And then I think Xbox.
I mean, that's one of the most popular RPGs of all time. I am thinking of the right game, right?
Yeah, Shenmue. Yeah. Then Part 2 came out. See, I thought Part 2 came out on Xbox, the original Xbox. After that one, I could be wrong. So I think they just re-released Part 2 on PS4. I think.
So there could be a lot of good options. I mean, the Dreamcast didn't have a huge library because it just didn't have much time. What else would you say would you like to see on there?
Space Channel 5. There's a cat and mouse game. It was a puzzle game. You had to get all the mice, and you had to avoid the cat. You had a group of mice. You had to fix the maze in a certain kind of way and direct the mice to their safe hole or whatever before the cat. Because I think you set the maze, and then you hit the go button, and the mice follow the trail that you set before and you have to.
Talking about Choo Choo Rocket.
Choo Choo Rocket, yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah, Choo Choo Rocket. That was fucking good game. Soul Calibur, of course.
What about Code Veronica?
Yeah, but I think that game's been hoarded out on every other system since then.
Yeah.
But those obscure ones, even Jet Set Radio kind of got, that's on Xbox. And I think PS4 has a version of it. I wish somebody would release, or at least port over Jet Set Radio 2, or Future. I think only the Xbox had that.
Power Stone?
Yeah, but I might as well play Smash Brothers. I love Power Stone, don't get me wrong. But it's like, I could be playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I guess so. I've never played it.
I still enjoyed it when I had it because I didn't get to Smash Brothers until the GameCube version. What was that one called? Brawl.
Yeah,
was that Brawl? Melee,
no,
yeah.
Sorry, Melee.
And then I kind of kept playing that. I still had both Power Stones. I just didn't get into. When those came out, I was like, oh, it's Nintendo characters that fighting each other. I might have to play this.
Yeah, what's not to love?
Yeah, so Power Stone is still good. It's just it's one of those games that it's some games where you have, I would say, for example, trying to think of two genres of a game or a genre of a game. I guess Gran Turismo is a good example of a game if you like racing games. You got that grand racing game, then you want a second game that's just slightly, it might be a little bit less as good. I'm trying to say. You got that big game, and you got a game that you're like, I'm kind of tired of this one game, but you want a game similar to that, but you want it to still be good. So it's like you have an alternative. It's good to have two different games of the same thing, if that makes sense. But then you have a game where it's kind of like that game, but you prefer the original because it's not as something about it's not as good as the main one. It's this game makes me want to play this.
Right. So that could, it still could be an option, though. I think there would still be a place for people. There would still be an audience out there for it.
But I wouldn't mind that Power Stone. But I think Power Stone was good. I wouldn't mind that being there.
Plus Power Stone was fully 3D,
right,
which is something Smash has never been. Well, That's all I had for news. Did you have anything? Anything more?
See, Soul Calibur 6 sales an estimated 408,000 plus units first week at retail. There's an investigation going on about loot boxes in video games.
What's going on there?
Well, they're wondering if it's going to get to a point of, is it a little too close to gambling? Let me find an article on that. Because I heard about, I think the quartering, I watched his video, he had talked about that. Where's a little bit of the article? It's been just over a year since the furor over Star Wars Battlefield 2's loot box began, and in that time, gambling regulators have started paying more attention to the controversial microtransactions. The latest government to get involved is a big one. God, these people. As the United States Federal Trade Commission has indicated it will investigate loot boxes and how they impact children. Oh, and the Australian Senate has something to say on the topic. Yeah, I don't know how EA is still in business. It's like everybody knows they're evil, but they're still around. But the shit they did with the Battlefront 2 with the loot boxes was it was real crazy.
So what is it? What's the gambling aspect?
That's what I'm trying to see. I think, like with phone games where they make the game where you can't progress through the game unless you pay money to it.
Right.
I think with loot boxes, see if I can find. Okay, I just read all this stuff. Okay, then it says FTC Chairman Joseph Simon yesterday affirmed a request by Senate Maggie Hassan that the agency investigate loot boxes in video games via Polygon. During the hearing, Hassan pointed out that loot boxes are now endemic in the video game industry and are present in everything from casual smartphone games to the newest high-budget releases, and will likely represent a $50 billion industry by the year 2022. Although Washington State was one of the signatories of the recent international declaration to tackle the risk posed by loot boxes, along with 15 European state regulators. This appears to be the first time they will be investigated at a federal level in the U.S. As an independent agency of the U.S. government, the FTC is responsible for consumer protection and both enforces and promote awareness of business regulation statutes. Judging by Hassan's remarks, it sounds like the purpose of the investigation will be to understand the risks posed by loot boxes and raise awareness by educating parents about potential addiction and other negative impacts. The FTC will report its findings back to Congress, and we'll probably have to wait a little while before we hear anything back. I'm trying to find where they correlated that with gambling. I don't understand.
Well, aren't the upgrades you can buy random?
On like which one? Like certain loot boxes do certain things differently. Like Injustice 2, where you don't have to pay anything. You just play the game, and you get random gear for the characters in that game. But with
and you have to pay a price for the randomized gear.
No, it has in-game currency for that. But you have the microtransaction comes from you buying the coins. I forgot what they call damn coins in the game. To buy, like you can upgrade the character level 30 just playing the game. But if you're one of those people who are impatient, that's that option. Most of this stuff is optional, but if it's to what Battlefront 2 was doing, if I remember correctly, they were having you, how do they do the loot box? Like, I think you pay it wasn't just for cosmetics. It was, you can unlock the character through gameplay, but when you purchase some of the stuff or character, they might have been overpowered. So if you couldn't play with other people who had lower level characters. God, I'm trying to remember what was the big. I might got an article on that somewhere. I think I found it. What was the big deal?
I mean, if the idea then is that you spend money to buy the in-game currency to then buy upgrades, I don't really see that the same as gambling.
No, I think what they're worried about is games where you can't progress through the game without paying something for it to get to the next level or something. I know I was playing some game, a cell phone game. I just want to play cell phone games. I couldn't get past the next part. They kept saying if you pay 99 cents for this, you will get to progress through the next level. Or you have to wait 20 or 30 minutes to play the game again.
Right, yeah, I've had games like that.
And I'm trying to see what, when it comes to video games themselves, like, okay, EA Dice has further explained the thinking behind Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot crates and talk more about their changes. This article was like 2017 or whatever last year. Dice also separately, Dice also separately said that Flame Troopers damage would be buffed for Star Wars Battlefront 2 launch. I guess that's another thing I'm talking about. I wish I remembered vehemently what it was that, because people flipped out over the way they did the loot boxes. So much so that EA got rid of them. It was like the game was already, full price. Then you include DLC, and then they wanted you to also more microtransactions with characters and some other things. And something that Quartering brought up was if they do somehow start regulating this stuff, the companies are going to do stuff. They may start bringing out games in like episodes or something. So you pay a little bit for this if you want the next episode. Like this, you wonder how far would it go for them to recoup money? Because a lot of them do that with the loot crates and stuff.
Well, I wouldn't equate that to gambling, though, because you're just buying more content for money, whereas with gambling, you're just taking a chance for money. But you know what the outcome is going to be in this situation.
Well, that's the thing. The loot crates are random items. You don't know what you're getting out of the items.
Okay, so they are random items.
Yeah, they are random items.
Okay, yeah, then I could see an argument for comparing it to gambling. Well, yeah, I'll wait to see how that unfolds. I think it could be complicated.
Yeah, and I wanted to just like with when they wanted to put labels on music and video games. I think they're just going to find other ways to do what they want to do to get more money, and it might not be something we want. I don't know. If they regulate the loot boxes, what would the companies do to make money? Will they start nickel and diming you for, they already do games with early access. I'm like, when do these games get out of beta and early access? Fortnite is still in early access. I'm like, when is it a full game?
Right.
When I bought Street Fighter V was not even a full game. I didn't know that at the time that I bought it. I thought it was done. It had no arcade mode. The online was fucked up. And it's like, buy the game for full price now, and we'll add all the other shit later. And it's like, no. You expect a full game.
Yeah, but I don't see that changing.
You expect a full game, not a... I don't know, man.
No, I know what you mean. I don't play any games, really, that have those elements, but I know that that's a frustration that's been going on for a long time. EA.
Oh, they're not the only ones.
Oh, right.
Activision seem to be just as bad with certain things. Because they're having issues with, what's it, Blizzard. There's some drama going on with Blizzard, too.
Over DLC and microtransactions?
No, I think the developers and the, who owns Blizzard? Is it, are they EA too? Who bought them out?
Well, I remember you talked about that Diablo port controversy.
Yeah.
Boo!
They're like, well, don't you all have cell phones?
Boo!
like, no, I'm waiting for a game on the. I just lost the article. Where was it? Yeah, Quartering also had a good. Quartering's a YouTube channel for those who like. Who the hell is Quartering? No, you have. I'm just saying people who like he's saying Quartering. Or it's a YouTube channel, but that name is he's Quartering. Right. He does a lot of news. Him and the other guy we watch, Fat Ball Dude.
Oh, Review Tech?
Yeah.
Yeah, Review Tech USA. Yeah, he was where I actually found out about that Dreamcast Mini.
Yeah, it's some drama going on with Blizzard that he went into detail about that I don't have anything up for right now. I don't really want to get into, but it's pretty crazy. Because Blizzard, I think since, I want to say, does EA own Blizzard? It's like anything EA touch, they fuck it real bad.
Yeah, they cram it full of DLC, Doritos, and Mountain Dew.
I mean, what's the game they came out with a couple years ago? Everybody complained about the facial expressions. I think I got the first two games of that game. I don't think of it. But any other news that I heard? Not much more. No, I'm okay. I don't see anything else.
All right, so on to the main segment. The most obscure gaming consoles in history. So, seeing as you have the master list, why don't you go ahead and take it away, and I'll chime in.
Okay. First on the list is the Fairchild Channel F. Came out in 1976. Says here, be forgiven if you have never heard of the Fairchild Channel F console, but it actually was an important place in video game history. It was the first home console to use cartridge-based games like those in the Nintendo 64 or the Nintendo 3DS. Previously, all video game consoles were pre-packed with games in them already, kind of what you see is what you get situation. The most famous of the early cartridge-based consoles is the Atari 2600, which came out a year after the Fairchild Channel F.
Ooh.
But sold far more units and pushed the Fairchild into obscurity.
So you basically got a Tesla Edison situation going on.
Yeah.
They stole.
Should I keep going, or we're gonna alternate, or should I keep going?
Oh, well, no. I was just gonna say they've got Fairchild started the idea, but then Amazon, Atari got all the credit.
Like the GoBots, it's kind of like with the GoBots and the Transformers took over.
Right. I like the 70s, 80s wood grain style. I've always been a sucker for that. But the controllers I'm looking at right now, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I grew up in that time, man. That's all we had. We had no, until Nintendo did what they did with controllers, this is what we had. Like, you were happy with that because that's all you had.
Right, you didn't know anymore.
We had, it's like we didn't miss what we didn't have. And then when they did do what they did with the controllers, like, oh, shit. What the hell? Yeah, I always like to look. It reminds me of those speakers my dad used to have with that wood look to them. Okay.
Says it had.
Check, keep going there.
Well, no, I was just gonna. No, you got all the details. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm done with that Fairchild.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say, looking at some of the specs of the system here, it says 102 by 58 pixels visible, only 64 bytes of RAM, system RAM, which was half of the 2600. It says the F8 processor could only produce enough AI to allow one player versus computer matches, which was a first in console history. Well, I didn't really do the research on this one, so that's pretty much all I had on it. So if you want to go to the next one.
Okay. The Epoch Cassette Vision, 1981. A lot of these little known consoles are tragically lost in history, but some of them are probably better off forgotten. One such example is the Epoch, which is EPOCH. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Cassette Vision whose main design feature is that the controllers are built into the console itself, meaning that players have to hold the entire system.
Oh boy!
And their laptop as they played it. Want to play a game with a friend? You'll have to put the system controllers between the two of you and sit half towards each other as you play it, while deeply resisting the urge to yank it away from them as they start losing.
Yeah, I can see some issues with that.
It reminds me of those handheld football games, too, where you had one person on one end. I know they did a console like that, though, but yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, the whole controls are built into the console. I mean, they had consoles with controllers by that point.
Right, so I don't know what was here.
What were they, broke? Maybe it wasn't in their budget. It was succeeded by the Super Cassette Vision. Interesting. In Epoch Co., I've never heard of this company. I have no idea what happened to them.
Jeez, 81. It was freaking 7.
It says here it was only released in Japan. Says here it was Japan's first successful programmable console video game system. Cool. Can't imagine the games could have been very complex. I'm looking... Okay, here we go. All the games are Doraemon. Doraemon 2, 3, 4, Doraemon SOS Otagi no Kuni, Doraemon no Game Boy, Sobu Yo DX. Oh, these are all the games that Epoch made, just the company. Those aren't all the cassette console games.
Oh, okay.
But Doraemon only had 13 games. Or, I'm sorry, the console, the cassette vision, only had 13 games. They seem pretty simple. You have a baseball game, a Galaxian, but not Namco's game Galaxian, apparently. Mm-hmm. A sports compilation, a Pac-Man clone, a Donkey Kong clone called Monster Mansion, Elevator Panic. Anyway, that's all I've got on that.
Okay. Now, we both have this game on the list. It's the Vectrex.
Ooh, yes.
Came out in 82. Which has a controller with 4 buttons and looks like somewhat an analog stick, but I don't know. Never played that before. Looks like a TV, like those old Macs. One of the old Macs that I had the... Jesus. Anyway, the word gimmick gets thrown at Nintendo a lot for the unusual ideas at the heart of its recent consoles. But the Vectrex takes things to a whole new level, to a whole other level. The Vectrex actually came with its own display, but instead of actually having a screen that could display color, the Vectrex just came with a bunch of colored plastic overlays that would imbue the black and white graphics with a uniform green, red, and whatever color unit.
Mm-hmm. Now, didn't the... Which console was it back in the 70s that had the plastic overlays?
Ooh.
Was that the Intellivision?
No, I think the Intellivision came out... I'm trying to think. I was going to get that when Atari hit... All those were like right directly to TVs. I don't think they had a overlay on anything.
It was the Magnavox Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to switch up the games, you'd have a cartridge which would just be a pixel dot that you could control, and so you'd have an overlay for a racetrack or for a ski slope and a few other things. I don't remember all the details, but yeah, it was I mean, at the time, I would even think that you had better options than that.
Yeah, I mean, I was always at the arcade. A lot of times, I'd say I went to the arcade quite a bit, and I think Atari was the most popular, so it was synonymous with games, just like Nintendo is. You said, you have an Atari? You might have had some other system, but Nintendo, just how Nintendo, people used to say, Oh yeah, I got a Nintendo, but they might have some other damn system. Or some parent might say, do y'all have a Nintendo? And you might mean some other system, but
Right, it just became synonymous with video games.
it just became some of the games, yeah.
Just like Kleenex with tissue.
Right, yeah. That's how Atari was back in the day.
So the release price was $199, which, when you add inflation, is $490 today. So damn, yeah, you were taking a chance there.
Mm-hmm.
So it had a horizontal model or a horizontal monitor. You could argue it was a portable console. Not practical though, because it actually had a dedicated screen. It had a short lifespan. It left the market. It came out in '82, but it left the market by '84, right after the U.S. crash of '83. So, you know why it was called the Vectrex? So instead of using pixels like all other consoles did, it used vectors or lines for all of its graphics. I looked at some footage of some of the games, and the controls were pretty smooth for its time. So they had, as far as their games go for the Vectrex, they had their fair share of rip-offs, like Asteroid and Robotron. They also had a game called Spike, which stood out, which is similar in some ways to Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong, where you need to save your girlfriend and you have to get to the top of the level.
Yeah.
What was really interesting is that it was, and this was something that the Vectrex was good at, is that it had a semi-3D look to it. So instead of a horizontal right-to-left platform game, you could go diagonally. You were walking along a diagonal path. It was still technically 2 dimensions, but you were looking at it from an angle.
Oh, okay.
The game Spike even had some voice acting. It wasn't very good, but it was there. And I said there was an Asteroids clone called Space Wars, which was actually not you versus Asteroids as much as it was a one-on-one space shooter. And Protector, which was basically Defender. So that's what I have for the Vectrex. What else did you have?
Okay. The Atari Lynx.
Oh, God.
1989. Same year Nintendo's Game Boy was released. I didn't know that. I keep thinking Game Boy was released like ages early than that.
89, right?
Way before that, but it was. Yeah. I don't know why I would put Game Boy at least a couple years before that for some reason. Game Boy was released. Atari put out something far more advanced but far less successful or recognizable, the Atari Lynx. Unlike its competitors, the Lynx had a backlit color screen. The Game Boy Color wouldn't come out for nearly 10 more years, but it was... Wait, what? Unlike the competitors, the Lynx had a backlit color screen. The Game Boy Color wouldn't come out for nearly 10 more years. But it was unlikely outshined by the larger video game libraries on the Game Boy and Sega Game Gear. I remember this thing.
You don't have the Atari Jaguar on your list, do you?
No, I thought it wasn't obscure enough because I remember the time it came out, people knew of it. I just knew people were like, what the fuck is that controller? And the biggest thing on it was the Alien vs. Predator. It was probably like, everybody kind of praised that game, but it was like, that's probably not worth getting this game only for. I got a friend actually who had the system, but I never played it myself, but he enjoyed it. And I know the buttons on it were for certain functions he was explaining to me. It wasn't just there for shits and giggles. It actually functioned as something.
So how long did the console last? It says here it was available in retail from 89 to 95.
Really? It's a longer lifespan than Dreamcast had.
Well, I mean...
Introductory price, $179. Sold around $3 million. Round cartridge. Fourth generation. 89 to 95. Wow. $179, $180.
Well, I think the difference there is the Dreamcast got pulverized by the PlayStation 2. And while the Lynx looks like it got its ass beat pretty well by the Game Boy, I guess it wasn't as brutal of a beating.
But the thing with Dreamcast, it seemed like they did everything right a little too late. And EA, because they had fucked over so many of the developers and stuff, the way they introduced the Saturn, they let that out without letting developers know. They kind of just brought that out. Developers didn't have a lot of games ready for it. EA kind of said, I'm not making games for your system because of you're not really. They had a habit of not being. They lost consumer confidence, and they also lost. I mean, they seem to make a system and then abandon it. And I think people just didn't want to take a huge risk with the Dreamcast like that.
Yeah, and they finally were doing it right too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real shame what Sega could have been when you think about it.
Yep. Gave us a werewolf Sonic.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't have to talk about that.
No.
So what else you got?
I also have the Philips CDI, 1991. Much like the Fairchild Channel F, who came up with that Fairchild Channel? I would never say all of that. The Philips CDI was quietly revolutionary, but lost the spotlight to a bigger, better console in the long run. In this case, the Philips CDI was the first video game console to support games on compact discs, but it was marketed as more of a home entertainment platform rather than a game console. Yeah, I do remember. I remember the system, but I forgot. I remember them advertising that, and that's why I didn't want one, because I was like, I wanted solely a video game console. I didn't want all this other stuff because I had a VCR and stuff, but it played this. But I didn't care for multi entertainment type of game systems at that time. I just wanted a game system because I was figured they would not make as many games for it. They'll focus too much on one part more than the other, and I never thought that was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
As such, it ended up playing second fiddle to later disc-based game systems like the PlayStation. Weirdly enough, the CDI was also the only non-Nintendo console to ever exclusive feature games like Link, The Faces of Evil, Zelda, The Wand of Gamelon?
Gamelon, I believe.
Gamelon, and Hotel Mario, all of which, by most accounts, were pretty terrible. If you need proof, check out this bizarre cutscene. They show a video of the animated version
from Zelda.
Oh yeah, I forgot about. Yeah. Oh my god, I thought that. Yeah. I'm like, what
Link,
the fuck,
my boy.
What
that was a huge meme back in the day.
Look to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the CDI.
The animation was terrible. It was awkward. It was the voice acting was lots of spaghetti. Yeah, not a finer moment in gaming, and of course, I knew about the CDI because of the fallout between Nintendo and Sony. And
okay.
That console was going to be a collaboration with Nintendo, but then, as you know, Nintendo backed out from everybody, and Philips retained the rights out because of exit negotiations with Nintendo. Philips retained the rights to make Mario and Zelda titles. And boy, they should.
Dude, I know hindsight is 2020, but Jesus, man.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I've seen the gameplay footage too. It's even worse.
Released in 91, EU 92, so it lasted from 91 to 96. What was the price on this thing? Let's see a price.
It says the introductory U.S. price was $179.99.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay.
But that was back in the early 90s.
But then 3DO was like $600.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong details here. Scratch that.
Wow. Okay.
The retail price for the CDI, which was available from 91 to 96,
around $1,000.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too. Hold on a minute now. That can't be right. It also was one of the earliest systems to implement internet features. Subscriptions, web browsing, downloading, email, online play. Of course, you had to buy a separate hardware modem, which was introduced for $150. Yikes, yeah, initially priced around $1,000. Ugh.
Okay.
And compare that to today.
I know.
That's as bad as the Neo Geo home console.
Was it bad though? Or was it just so expensive?
That's what I mean in terms of price.
Price. Oh yeah.
I mean, I imagine they're trying to recoup costs. You got a lot of, pretty high-end technology for the time.
Right.
Yeah, so did you notice... I really haven't looked past the terrible Nintendo adaptations. I wonder if they had some decent games.
I remember seeing it in maybe EGM and some other gaming magazines. I don't think I took any interest in it. I think they did a lot of full motion video stuff, and most up until PlayStation, it seemed like any disc-based system relied way too much on because I was still into the 2D stuff, and anything full motion video, I was like, oh my god, it's like this is a point and click game. I don't want to play those.
Yeah,
but I had no interest in those at all.
Anything else on the CDI?
Nope.
So what's next?
The Pioneer Laser Active came out in 1993. It looks like a piece of shit mixed with a VCR, a DVD player. I don't know what this contraption is. And it looks like they added a Sega Genesis 6-button controller to it.
It looks like a VHS player humping a DVD player.
DVD. Yeah, it's just... Remembering Laserdiscs, the ill-fated alternative to VHS, no.
Oh, yeah.
Well, how about a video game console that supported games on the Laserdisc format that cost nearly $1,000? Suddenly, the reason why you've probably never heard of Pioneer Laserdisc, Laser Active, are pretty clear. The reality is Laser Active actually offered its 10,000 owner a fair amount of utility because it could also play regular Laserdisc as well as Sega Genesis, or which I guess that's why the controller looks like that, and TurboGrafx 16 games. You just had to be willing to bet on the Laserdisc format, and well, we know how that turned out.
Yeah, I remember back in elementary school, occasionally our teacher would get a hold of a Laserdisc for an educational video, and they were always excited about the new Laserdiscs, but...
Were they about the same size of a vinyl album?
Were they...
Or vinyl, with the size, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fucking big. So it says here, I only see... Okay, it came out in the United States, but it had more titles in Japan. $970. Jeez. Oh, it didn't have a regional lockout for all 10 of you out there that own one. But you probably knew that. Laser Active 3D goggles.
Ah, yes.
So they had some, they were trying to do VR. Or something like it. It was supportable. It was compatible with at least 4 titles: 3D Museum, Valra 2, Virtual Cameraman 2, and 3D Virtual Australia. The goggles were also compatible with the Sega Master System. Oh, right. Just like the controllers were. And did you know Genesis controllers are compatible with Atari?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, they use the same technology. They use the same cables.
Okay.
So I'm looking at a list of the games here. Dora Dora Paradise, Don Quixote, A Dream in 7 Crystals, High Roller Battle, Hyperion, Myst. That was a prototype. It was never officially released. Time Gal, Triad Stone, Zapping TV Satsui. Yeah. So do you have anything else on the Laserdisc? or the laser active?
No, I just remember. I kind of remember. I think I used to get that one and the Philips CDI mixed up because they were. I don't know. I don't know why I just associate one with the other like that, but I kind of remember it though. Remember CDI Philips a little bit more though. I do kind of remember the Pioneer trying to come up with something.
I'm looking at some of the screenshots. They look pretty good. I mean, the technology, the graphics. Yeah. Looks to be 32-bit. Holy cow, those are big discs. So what else you got?
3DO, but I guess it counts if you haven't been around in the 90s. If you were like one of my age in the 90s, would not have known what a 3DO was. But that came out in 93. Unlike most other game consoles, the 3DO could be made by any company that licensed the design from the 3DO company. In this way, the 3DO was kind of like a DVD or CD player in that they weren't made by just one manufacturer. This meant that 3DO didn't have one single set of system specs depending on which company was manufacturing it. The 3DO would vary slightly. Right, that wrong. This mixed with the early use of disc-based games made it fairly innovative for the time. But its hefty price tag and its push to be a multiplayer player doomed it to failure. That explains why I would see a 3DO and I was like, why is that different? Oh, that explains it there. I didn't know why I would see different types of 3DOs. I always thought, I'm like, did they make a part 2 of this? Because I would see the same, if I remember back then, a version of a 3DO, then I see not like a part 2. Well, I thought it was a part 2, but they didn't get rid of the other version. Well, apparently, there were different companies were making 3DO systems, I guess.
So, lack of quality control
just seems like
was a big issue. And I know that was a problem for Nintendo for a time being, and so they got really strict on the NES. But they didn't have nearly the same problems as a lot of these other consoles from that time. I mean, if you didn't have, good control over game development, who could qualify, then you're really at risk for having your whole console flooded with a bunch of games that are pretty much just only as good as the developer makes them.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some of the big trusted brands today, but you also had a lot of, you had your LJNs out there too that were cranking out games. So one 3DO game I do actually remember, and tell me if you've heard of this, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
No.
So it was an all-video, choose-your-own-adventure game, basically. You'd watch the story unfold. It was a romantic comedy about this plumber who falls in love with, this supermodel-looking girl.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's just based on options. There's some really disturbing scenes where the girl's boss tells her to undress, and it's just really awkward in order to get, if she wants the job. And the acting is just terrible. And no, she doesn't get naked.
Damn.
Yeah, the acting's very bad. It's a stereotype early 90s character. If I remember right, the main character is kind of like a cool dude, like they all were back then. And then the girl was, she was good looking. She was a blonde, I think, perm, wearing a dress, completely, where you would not see a girl walking around wearing a dress and high heels, but it was fantasy, so. But yeah, that was a cringy title in the 3DO's catalog. And some of these games look pretty good, though. Crash and Burn, which was the first bundled title with the system. Alone in the Dark, Myst, Jurassic Park Interactive, Gex.
Yeah, Gex is probably that, and I think they had a Street Fighter game on there too.
Yeah.
But Gex,
Turbo.
Okay, yeah. Those are the only two games I remember. I would like, man, but it's like 2 games. It's not enough for me to want that thing.
Yeah. Oh, they also had Night Trap.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, which is something I'll be getting into later. So.
And this is why I was confused. Okay, so they had Panasonic Z10 Real 3DO, which looks like the first generation Sega, the 16-bit Sega almost. Then it had the Gold Star interactive multiplayer and the Sanyo 3D TRY. What that explains too, I would see these three. I'm like, I don't know what. That was a confusing thing too. Like, why was there three different 3DOs? I didn't know which one was what. I didn't know if they ran the same. They were just as bad as the Wii U with their information to the consumer.
Yeah, more bad marketing.
Things. Yeah. The next one is the same thing on your list, which is the Sega 32X.
The 32S.
Came out in 94. Though not technically a game console and on its own right, the Sega 32X is just strange enough to be included here. The 32X was an add-on for the Sega Genesis, plugging directly to the cartridge slot, which allowed it to play games that the standard Genesis couldn't. It was kind of a halfway step between the Sega Genesis and the successor, the Sega Saturn. Yeah, I remember they were trying to market it as, if you can't afford a Saturn, here's this.
Right.
It didn't do particularly well, partly because a lot of people didn't really understand what it did, and also because most people just wanted to wait for the Sega Saturn. It probably doesn't help that 32X only had 34 games around a period of 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, the introduction price, well, the only price, well, until they started slashing the price, it was $159 from out of the gates. By today's standards, it would be $266. I had one of these, so I can comment on this piece of shit. So, originally, Sega imagined it as a separate console to hold customers over until the Saturn, which, by the way, only came 6 months after the 32X was released. So, Sega, what the fuck were you thinking there? But at the demand of Joe Miller, who was the president of Sega of America, it was converted into an add-on for the Genesis. And it had a 32-bit central processing... it contained two 32-bit central processing units and a 3D graphics processor. And it had these metallic pins that you had to attach to the console input on your Genesis to stick the 32X into that. And I remember, because I was young back then, I would have to have my parents put it together when I wanted to, and then have them take it out. Let's see. Oh, the cords. Dear Jesus Almighty. So, as the video game nerd pointed out, the system looks like it's on life support, and rightfully so. And that's a great metaphor, because that was like the life support for the Genesis. They were trying to milk it for everything they could. You had a separate AC power cable for the 32X add-on, in addition to all the cables you already had for the Genesis. Plus, you had an AV cable you had to attach from the back of the 32X to the Genesis. Otherwise, you couldn't see the fucking characters on the screen, and you would just have a background. And it didn't really have that many games. It didn't even, and the ones that it had, there are a few good ones. So, the one that we were talking about the other day, the one Sonic the Hedgehog title, Knuckles Chaotix. I had that shit. What a disappointment. So, in the game, you play as Knuckles, and you get paired up with one of 4 different partners. And the Chaotix were actually like Knuckles' crew, which you would see actually in some of the later games.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that actually, I guess, survived from that disaster of a game. But throughout the whole game, you're tethered to your partner by this magical band that's like a rubber band between the two of you. So you always got to wait for the other guy to catch up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, you always got to wait for the other guy to catch up, and you're supposed to use the tension to like send the other guy flying so you can go forward. But it just made everything so fucking awkward. And then the levels were easy. There were hardly any enemies. The graphics were nice, but everything was really repetitive, and the music soundtrack was not as good as a Sonic game should be. And then Night Trap, the other standout title from that series. Now, of course, you remember Night Trap.
Yes. Which also got blamed for corrupting and school shootings and what have you.
Yeah, that one and Mortal Kombat back in the 90s.
I think the chick from Not Good Times, Different Strokes, I think she was the motherfucking... I saw somebody play through their game on Twitch, and it was like, this is what we were afraid of? Well, they were. The government back then.
Right. So
way worse stuff out now.
Right. So there were a bunch of attractive girls staying in a house, and you had to make sure that these intruders didn't get to them. And it was all pre-recorded footage where you just had to, like, check different cameras throughout the house to stop the monsters from getting... Hey, that's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy.
Freddy, yeah.
But with boobs.
Nothing wrong with boobs.
But yeah, there are scenes where the girls, like, are screaming, they're being dragged away by these guys, and then... So people started complaining that, oh, was this promoting violence against women?
It's like...
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I get so annoyed with the one group of people you can't do anything to, but yet you can do some stuff to a kid. That's I've seen. You can smack a kid upside the head or some shit like that. You can't smack a grown ass woman. I just find that weird.
Yeah, I don't know all the footage of the game. From what I remember seeing, I could be wrong, but I just remember like. The bad guys just come, they grab the girls, and they just carry them away.
That's all I remember, too.
Yeah, I don't recall anybody actually getting hit. They just...
And if they did, oh, well, I mean...
Right, but I'm just saying, in regards to the people that were upset about this game.
I think at the time, man, it just... People just like now, just people need something to be offended by. Dana Plato, that was her name, Kimberly Drummond. I don't know why I couldn't go down there. I used to watch that show. I think she was one of the actresses on that show, on Night Trap.
Yeah. She was the star, it says.
She was the star? Okay, yeah.
Unbeknownst to them, the house is full of danger. Of course, these ditzy girls don't know the danger that awaits them. So you have to trigger traps to stop the bad guys from getting in.
So you, in fact, were trying to save them?
Yeah, you were trying to save them.
Well, then they would complain, why aren't you trying to save women? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty morally sound game, if you ask me.
It looks like a hokey 80s slasher film without all the slash, from what I remember.
There was a third game, and this one...
They did a third one?
Oh, no. For the 32X.
Oh.
Which you could also say is impressive. There was this one I had. I only owned 2 games for the 32X. It was Knuckles, Chaotix, and Star Wars, which was an adaptation of the arcade game.
Oh, okay. I was like, that one I'm assuming they got right.
Yeah. It was better than Knuckles, Chaotix, but it wasn't
I wanted that game
impressive.
so bad. I had just gotten into the Sega Genesis. And I was now I can't remember if the add-on for the Genesis, it's the one, the contraption you put the old Sega cartridges on top of that, and you can play Knuckles in the older Sonic games.
Oh, Sonic and Knuckles?
It was just Sonic. That's right, it was just Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, I remember getting the Genesis, and I got that, and I was so pumped. Got on the 32X just for that Chaotix game. I was like, man, again, it was one of, but back then, going to college and not having a lot of money, I was like, I don't want a system if I'm going to only get 1 or 2 games I'm going to like, because I would research the hell out of what games are coming out for it. And if it was less than, I was like, I can't fuck with this. It's 2 games I might want, but I don't know over a period of time where these are only 2 games I'm going to like. And I just bought a $100+ system. It's just going to sit in the closet.
You didn't miss much.
So I had some weird sixth sense about what console I thought might be good, might not be, and I actually did pretty good. I didn't get an Atari Jaguar. I didn't get the 3DO. I didn't get the Saturn. I took a chance with the PlayStation, but they had games I saw. They looked like they had some 2D stuff, Symphony of the Night and all that stuff. So. Jumping Flash. So that's pretty cool games on there. So I took a chance with that, but I was afraid of 13. Plus, Donkey Kong Country came out that same year. So I was all over that.
Yeah, and you had a lot of decisions to make back then. So,
yeah.
Sounds like you chose the right path most of the time. But the
my
Star
next-
Wars.
oh, sorry.
Hold on. I was just going to say the Star Wars game for the 32X. It was better than the other ones that I'd known of, but it wasn't that great. It was the graphics were kind of bland. It was basically the Star Wars arcade game, which was a wireframe game, but they added some actual graphics to it, some skin to everything.
Oh, okay.
And it was just really repetitive. You'd have Admiral Akbar every 5 seconds on your radio saying, like, wipe out all enemy fighters. And he'd just repeat the same phrases over and over. There was a cool little game over sequence where Darth Vader would basically grill you, but that was pretty much it. So you were saying?
Oh, shit. I forgot. It had something to do with the 32X, I think. Well, damn. If I remember, I'll bring it back up.
I'm pretty sure there were a couple of decent 32X games, though.
I'm sure. I mean, just like with Sega CD, Snatcher was like one of those classic games that I don't think many people got a chance to play because I don't know how long the Sega CD lasted. And people went into add-ons and peripherals and shit, so they probably suffered.
It had Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, Shadow Squadron.
Daytona didn't come out on 32X, did it? Was that one of the first games to come out? Or did they go to the Genesis? Because they were trying to compete with the Star Fox, and then Sega tried to do like some kind of compliment to that game.
I don't see Daytona on the list.
Okay, so that must have been for. I guess that was on Genesis.
Oh God, the Sega Neptune. Canceled in October of '95. Yeah, they were originally... I remember reading somewhere back in the day they were going to do a console for every planet.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, too. Was it... I guess why I read that in EGM was so...
Yeah.
Such a good fucking magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I love EGM.
I miss them.
Yeah. God, I miss them so much.
We should do an episode on EGM.
Yeah.
Just highlight, like, the strong points and some of the, great moments of EGM history.
I had some in the magazine. I don't know if I kept them. I'm sure I got rid of most of them. Because I had to make room for stuff. But I had those books for so long. I do have a few I did keep, though. I like when they did they had not just the EGM, they did the EGM 2, which was more all strategy guide stuff for the games. Code and everything. They had a few articles, but it was mostly strategies.
Yeah, I love some of their original articles. They had the game reviews every now and then. Or no, he was staff back in the day, right? They had Sean Baby on board.
Was Sushi X on there too?
Was the what?
Sushi X.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think so.
The next system is came out in '95. The Nintendo Virtual Boy.
Oh God.
The HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset are on the forefront of game technology, but Nintendo was arguably too far ahead of the trend when it released a virtual headset in '95. It only had 22 games over its entire life. I didn't know it had a lifespan, of which had a harsh black and red color scheme. One such game was Mario Tennis, which you can take a peek at and add a video of it. Nintendo sold fewer than 800,000 units total, which many people think is because it's hard to show someone what it's like to use the virtual reality headset through an advertisement. Only one can truly understand it once it experienced firsthand. Oddly enough, that's a problem still plaguing virtual reality headsets on the market today. For retailers like Best Buy are letting people try PlayStation's VR headset in several stores across the country as not to repeat the Virtual Boy's unfortunate demise. I remember seeing I think Blockbuster, the Blockbuster I was going to had a kiosk or whatever you call them, set up for this. I remember, I'm like, this is not bad, but I can't how am I going to sit down and play this?
Yeah, it was uncomfortable as fuck.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and it didn't
And it
have
had
a
no
strap.
yeah, so
Right.
I'm like, I'm not fucking my back up for this.
Yeah,
It looked cool, but it was like, it was so uncomfortable.
I mean, Mario's, there was that one game where he was throwing the shell across to the other end of the stage.
Yeah.
That looked cool. That was where you got the first Wario World, too.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a good game. But,
Yep.
yeah, the technology just wasn't right. If they had done that better, they might have had more success.
I don't think it was so much the technology. Is like I said, I think the whole thing killed it with like what they said here is you couldn't show it anybody, and they had no way of making it comfortable for you to use it. It was like you have to bend over while you're sitting down, and it's hunched, and you couldn't hold it to your face because you got to fucking grab the controller. It made no sense why they didn't include a strap on this.
I just imagine dudes with, like, hunchbacks walking around. Oh, the 32X players. You could just tell right away. Because it was on a stand. It was on this little stand, and you had to lean over and stare into it. And I imagine that couldn't have been good for your eyes.
No, man. I tried it at Best Buy. I wanted to say it was Best Buy at the time I tried it. I'm like, this is cool, but I'm not going to play a game like this.
Right, and I had the same experience in Kids or Toys R Us, where they'd have one set up, and I felt the same way. And I think, what year did that come out?
95.
Yeah, so I walked over and played Crash Bandicoot instead. And I mean, shit, the 64 was just on the horizon, wasn't it, or had that already come out?
I'm assuming Japan had it first, and we got it because I didn't get mine until 96. I want to say.
Yeah, I think mine was 97.
Because I was dating a chick at the time, and I remember coming from college. I was coming home from school because I had it reserved at, what was it, Babbage's in the mall, and I don't know how I got home in time to get that call because I don't think I had an answering machine or anything set up. I got home just as I get there. They called me from the mall and said, your system is here. I got right back in the fucking car. Flew the fuck up there, got my shit. I didn't have school the next day, I don't think. I was on that bullshit. Playing Mario 64 like crazy.
Oh yeah, I played it 6 hours in a row. The first chance I was able to play it was Christmas morning. And
Banjo-Kazooie made it worse.
Yeah?
Because I played that bullshit like night and day. You can get me off Banjo-Kazooie. I was playing the fuck out of that game. And it made it worse with Star Fox.
Ocarina of Time.
I missed a dude. I don't know if this is bad or not. So my sister was hooking me up with this girl she knew. And my family was going to, because she was in college at the time. I did meet the girl eventually, but I was supposed to go up there I think I met her before, and I was supposed to go back up there to hang out with her. And so my family went to go visit, and were like, you coming? Because they had packed and everything. I'm like, Zelda came out today. I'll see y'all later. I didn't go. I was playing Ocarina of Time.
I don't blame you. The game was
I probably would have got some ass. The girl was fine. But Zelda was finer, so I stayed home. I played. Because I got the game. I remember me and my classmate was talking about, because we talked about it like weeks before it came out. And I remember saying across class, like when he was at his desk, not desk, we were at college, or table, when it was in art class. I was doing art class, and he was doing his project over there. All I remember us saying is, you ready? You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. You ready? That's all, because we knew what we were talking about. We were talking about getting Ocarina of Time. Right. He was a Zelda nut too. And that's all we talked about during class, was that game coming out that day. And I end up going to, I can't think how many stores I went, because they were all sold out. And by the time I got back home, I tried my local Best Buy, and the guy was just restocking the shelves with that game, and I ended up getting one that night. But that was crazy. I got one the same night it came out. I wanted that shit so badly.
Another
next
crazy
system
moment in gaming history.
Next game system is the same one you have. It's the game.com. Came out in 1997.
It was actually just pronounced Gamecom.
Oh, that's like, okay, I'm stupid. That's like
it is a .com. It is styled as a .com, but they called it Gamecom.
Yeah, okay. Well, they need not put dots because I'm going to call out the dot. That reminds me of a guy that knew who, Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat. He would say Shang T Song. Like, no, you don't pronounce the T. Like, well, and he would not ever stop calling him Shang T Song. He keeps saying the T. Like, no. So now I got to unlearn game.com. I got to say Gamecom.
Yeah, for all the times you're going to be talking about the Gamecom through the rest of your life.
I mean, in the future, my daughter might be like, hey, what's up with this? I'm like, that's a game.com.
Oh, okay.
It'll come up at some point.
Yeah, and when I was doing research on it, by the way, I would search game.com, and I would get this shitty, like, free downloadable game site. I'm like, damn it, no!
Are you okay?
But yeah, so who made Gamecom? Who developed
Tiger.
Yeah,
Tiger
surprise. Not being content with their shitty line of plastic games throughout the whole 90s, they had to make a dedicated console for this stuff.
They didn't make the Furby. They're not the ones responsible for the Furbies, are
they? Don't hold me to that. Hold on a second.
The game.com, pronounced Gamecom,
right?
Made by Tiger, was sort of an early ancestor to the Nintendo DS in that it was a handheld video game console at that came with a touchscreen and a stylus.
Oh, by the
way,
real quick, you were talking about Furby. That was Hasbro.
Oh, that was Hasbro. Okay.
Wait a second. No, Hasbro brought them back. Tiger, you were right. Tiger originally did them.
Aha! I think they almost got sued by, I want to say whoever owned Gremlins, because they said it looked too much like Gizmo.
Yeah, I can see that.
I remember showing Aaron, guy we used to work with, when I had my Gizmo shirt on. He said, "Man, why are you wearing a Furby on your shirt?" I'm like, "God, y'all young. This is Gizmo. This is not a Furby."
You have one of those, all right, listen here, you young bastard moments.
Yeah. But then they end up coming out with an actual Gizmo Furby. It was an actual, I think they had the colors of Gizmo, it was actual Gizmo, but in Furby.
Cross promotion.
So I guess they made love and said, "Oh, we're not going to sue you, or just make us what you stole from us that looks like this thing," back in '84, and they hooked them up. So additionally, Game.com had some PDA-like features, like its built-in calculator, calendar, and address book.
And by the way, that calendar, you couldn't even, you couldn't even enter anything onto the dates. You just had a calendar.
Yeah.
That was it. Oh, I can look at the dates.
Notably, it could also connect to the internet when it was connected to a modem. That is, if all you wanted to do was send an email or look at text-only version of a website. Though it featured some innovative design ideas that would later become standard in Nintendo handheld consoles, the game.com was a flop, and Tiger decided to turn its focus towards other consumer electronics.
Gamecom.
Oh, like Furby, yeah, like Furby. Just seeing the name alone is enough to give me chills.
And by the way, for the internet, for the internet access, you had to buy a peripheral, which was a cartridge and a separate cable. Mm-hmm. Tiger suggested you use their own internet provider, which was called Delphi. And you had to buy a separate modem. If you had a modem already for your computer, that wouldn't cut it. You had to buy a separate fucking modem. And the browser, I mean, this isn't surprising, but the browser was text only.
Right.
And it supported email. But you had to have it always physically connected, so I mean, it was a cool gimmick for the time, but it really didn't hold much.
Oh, okay.
As far as being practical. And then in 98, the Game Boy Color came out, which only cost a little more than the Gamecom, so that was pretty much the end of that.
Yeah.
Oh, also, like the Game Boy, the Gamecom needed 4 AA batteries, but unlike the Game Boy, the adapter was sold separately.
What the?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, that was a problem. That's a problem that people are having now with that PlayStation Mini. The
really?
HDMI cable is sold separately.
I think that's why the Vita didn't do that well either, because you even had to use their company made, if I remember correctly, SD cards and stuff, memory cards to save stuff on. You had to get it from Sony. You couldn't use a cheaper third party one. You had to get their shit. And it had some other shit that you had to get. I'm like, nobody fuck with this. And everything was high price too. So it's like you paying damn near for the system and the other accessories for this thing. I want to say at the time, close to maybe $800, $900, maybe. I can't remember what the costs were at the time. Well, I mean, they're cheap now, but I think SD cards at the time, not that long ago, it was like around 2013 or 12 when the Vita came out, I want to say. Could be wrong on the date. Year, I mean, but...
But are you ready for this, though, man? There's a redeeming quality about the Gamecom. After all that.
As always.
It had
something.
It had 2 cartridge slots.
Damn.
Yeah. So forget everything we've just said. It's totally redeemed. You can switch between 2 games without having to switch the cartridge.
Aw, damn.
Yeah. I'll have to go back. I'm going to have to go to... I'm going to get on Amazon and buy me a copy now just because of that. And it had a touch screen with a stylus pin. Though the pin wasn't connected, it wasn't tethered to the console, so, with a lot of kids, bye-bye to that.
So it had Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Williams Arcade Classics, Duke Nukem 3D, Sonic Jam.
Yeah, and I've seen footage of all those games, and with the exception of the Williams Arcade Classic, they were pretty bad. I mean, the Batman and Robin was really simple. The physics were really rigid. The Duke Nukem 3D, everything was convoluted. You didn't have as many walls. You just had like this big open area, and you could move a step forward, and suddenly there'd be enemies in front of you. And the Sonic Jam had a horrible frame rate with terrible music. And in general, the Gamecom's music was pretty bad. It was also sold... It came packaged with a copy of Lights Out. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, which originally was a physical game where you'd just buy it and the goal was to turn out all the lights on the board. I think it was 4x4 squares or 5x5. So just take that and put it on a Gamecom with rough touchscreen technology, and there's a waste of $20, $30, however much these games cost. I don't even remember.
What's the battery life on there?
Probably not very good. I'm not sure.
Okay.
They later released a Pocket Pro edition in '99, which was more compact, and it only had 1 cart slot.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Fuck that one.
Right.
There were only 20 games released for the Gamecom, by the way. So, pretty much another disaster. What was the release? Originally it sold for $70, which was $110 by today's standards.
Huh.
Yeah, which, I mean, back in the 90s was a little more, but it wasn't that bad.
Right.
But trying to compete with the Game Boy.
Nah, the only people that came close to that was Sony with their PSP. Other than that, most companies really couldn't fuck with Game Boy. Regardless of the Game Gear having color in the backlight, and just had the games, I guess. Spanish green. And the way they marketed it, too, it was the cool system. I think if you make any system cool, it don't matter how powerful the thing is. If the kids like it, it's like, oh, you're cool because you've got a Game Boy. And Game Boy was synonymous with handhelds, too. So it's kind of like, yeah, anything other than the Game Boy, you weren't all that. You couldn't hang with anybody.
Right, you ain't shit.
You ain't shit. You don't have a Game Boy.
Go over there with the little Nintendo fuckboys.
But the Game.com boys.
Oh, the Comboys, yeah. The Comboy. Wait a second. The Comboy, the Super Comboy. That was a thing. Actually, the Super Comboy. Hold on a second. I think that was the name of a Nintendo console in another country, like South Korea or something. Let me see here. Yeah. In South Korea, it's known as the Super Comboy. The Super Nintendo is known as the Super Comboy.
Wow.
So, just a little fun fact.
Okay. Was it short for Super Famicom? Famicom?
Yeah, I think that was probably what the idea was behind it. I don't know for sure. Okay. But yeah, that would seem likely. So, Gamecom. And I remember one last thing. When the system started up, it would have this robot voice that would say, Gamecom, active.
That is gay.
Comboys. So yeah, what else?
You know, on GameCube, I don't know how to do it, but it's I think you press, depending on how you press the button on when the GameCube logo pops up, when it does that, and it forms the cube.
Right.
It's one where this creepy kid says GameCube. I don't know how to do that, and I don't want to do that. But I didn't know that you can do that on there, though.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it freaked me out when I heard it. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. That sounds too much like a creepy kid.
You're going to die in 7 days.
7 days or some shit like that. No, I don't want that on my GameCube.
That's why I sold my GameCube. I had to sell my house. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, God. Where is it? It is the Nintendo 64 HDD.
Oh, the double Ds.
64 DD. Yeah, the double Ds. Came out in 99. Well, or did it? Everything about this add-on for Nintendo 64 was doomed from the start. It utilized the magnetic disc format, kind of like a hybrid between a CD-ROM and floppy disk, which was already lacking in popularity at the time the 64 DD came out. CD-ROMs were already being widely used, were much cheaper to manufacture, and could store more data. The 64 DD reportedly only ever sold 15,000 units. I didn't even know it actually came out. I thought it was just leaving the remaining 85,000 units for the dump. Now I didn't even know it made the market. I thought it was dead on arrival. I didn't know it actually went out anywhere.
Only in Japan.
Oh, okay.
It was only available in stores for 3 years, not even for full 3 years, from December of 99 to 2001.
Okay.
February of 2001, so it was barely even 2 years. It's not even 2 years. It's barely over 1 year.
It's quite sad, really, because the 64DD has some interesting ideas at its core. It was built as a tool for Nintendo's artistic customers, allowing users to capture images from a TV, create 3D models, and design songs for the racing game F-Zero. There was even a sort of online network that would allow 64DD users to connect with each other and share what they made with one another. Unfortunately, the execution was severely lacking. Only 9 games were ever made. I did not know that. I could swear it just never came out. I remember Mario Paint. I think, was that for that? Released for the 64D, for which is as giant bomb notes were various iterations of Mario Paint. Oh, okay. Yeah. Kind of remember Mario Paint.
Yeah, and I remember having excitement for this console back in the 90s. because they were planning on releasing Earthbound 64 for the DD when it came out. And then it just was canceled. Never happened. I mean, we eventually did get another Earthbound game, but that was over a decade later.
Boy.
Yeah, and it was remade for the Game Boy Advance, and it was a good game. And who knows what it would have been like in the 64 version.
Next system is Engage. Came out in 2003. Nokia. Turns out that when you try to combine a phone with a handheld gaming device, you get a terrible design monstrosity that can't really do either. At least that's what happened with the Engage.
Yeah, I mean, not true anymore, but yeah, back then.
Yeah. One of the biggest problems was the fact that you had to remove the device's batteries in order to switch games. What? Additionally, the awkward placement of the speaker meant that users had to hold the edge of the phone against their ear, which was noted in Fortune magazine. It looked like you were speaking into a taco.
Yeah, I've noticed a common thread. I'm sure you have between a lot of these games, a lot of these consoles. They were trying to be ahead of their time, and they were too ahead of their time.
Yeah.
So didn't they release? Because I remember Japan got a lot of more complicated phone games before we did. Unsurprisingly, like they had ports of all the old Dragon Quest games.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they would have those on this one also. I'm trying to find a list of games. Let's see here. So the U.S. got North America got 57 games. The PAL region got 64.
Really? Wow.
Let's see, anything familiar? They had Bomberman, Call of Duty, Catan, Civilization. Yeah, but that first... have you ever played the first Civilization?
I want to say I have, but I don't know if I played it enough to... I don't remember it. I may have played... I get that confused with... I can't think of the name of it. It starts with a C. Not Civilization. There's another game that's like it. So I don't think I played an official Civilization game.
Well, it's really
I know of
dated.
it, though.
The first one's really clunky. And not just graphically. Graphically, yeah, not even for its time. It could have been better for its time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, your character was like this little stick figure in a block, and if you stacked units, you couldn't see what was underneath them. They just hadn't worked things out yet at that point.
Oh, okay.
So they also had Crash Nitro Kart, The Elder Scrolls Travels Shadow Key, King of Fighters Extreme. They had some FIFA titles. They had MLB Slam, NCAA Football 04, Puyo Pop, Rayman 3, The Sims Bustin' Out, Sonic N, Spider-Man 2, and a few more. I won't go through the whole list, but it seems like they had some decent franchises. I don't know how the games played out, of course. I don't know. What was did we get a price on that?
No, let me look up the price. Official site. They still have a site in Ukraine.
Oh, here it says the launch price in the U.S.
Company.
Says the launch price in the U.S. was $299.
Sold 3 million units.
But it was outsold by the Game Boy Advance 100-1.
I mean...
And it says...
Sounds about right.
Less than a month after its... let's see here. Less than a month after its release, GameStop and EB started offering $100 rebates just so they could move them.
Boy.
Yeah. Talk about a disaster. Plus, it was a tiny screen. It just wasn't right. You had the Game Boy Advance at that time, which was way superior, and nobody wanted all those extra features. So, yeah, I remember when this thing was new, too. I remember when they were advertising it, and I just saw it, and
Yeah, once I had... What was the successor to the Game Boy Advance? Was the dual screen? Was that SP?
The DS.
But where would the SP come from? When did that come out? Was that the Advance, like a new version of it?
Let's see here.
SP, I think it's called.
Oh, that was the flip one. That was the fold-out version. I have one of those still.
Man, I can't find. I gave my sister. I wish I still had mine. Just to have it.
I got it from an old friend. They just didn't want it.
I miss mine because it had the back. Like I remember a friend of mine. He brought when he got his. I'm like, yep, I'm getting one. As soon as I saw it.
Yeah. Man.
Next system is Gizmodo. Came out 2005. Niantic. The company that makes Pokemon Go is the center of conversation about augmented reality. I can't read. Reality and the potential for video games that intertwine with real world locations. But this is not the first time this conversation has come up. The Gizmondo was a handheld gaming console that's notable partly for its ability to track users through GPS. One game called Colors would have allowed players to guard real-life locations in their neighborhoods from rival players, much like in the gym system in Pokemon Go. The other reason the Gizmondo is so notable is because of the stranger-than-fiction story behind the people who made it. One of its executives, Stefan Eriksson, became the center of a media firestorm after crashing a Ferrari Enzo at nearly 200 miles per hour, which led to U.S. authorities discovering Eriksson had ties with Swedish mafia. Seriously, the story is insane. These events certainly weren't the only thing plaguing Gizmondo. But they didn't help. Ultimately, the company that made Gizmodo, went bankrupt and folded within a year of releasing the console in very limited amounts, selling fewer than 25,000 units and vanishing into obscurity.
So the story about that Stefan guy, that kind of reminds me of the guy that made the DeLorean. Because didn't he get busted with a lot of drugs?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he was smuggling cocaine, or he had a lot of cocaine. But I guess Back to the Future kind of saved that car, so didn't matter.
Yeah.
So the thing looks like a giant-ass jelly bean, by the way.
I see a robot head with antennas.
Yeah, I can see that too. It's just got a weird design.
So they had a home.
Developed by Tiger.
It's very simple looking.
Yeah, so...
Unlike the Engage.
So did this thing have media support? Because the buttons are also stop and play and fast forward buttons.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I noticed that too. I don't know. I kind of remember this system, like 2005. I feel like I don't know. I seem like by the time Game Boy, I guess the DS. When did the DS come out?
I want to say that was 2004.
It's like by that time, it's like why make a handheld to compete with Nintendo? Like, just give it up. Try something else.
Right. Well, everybody thought they could do it. Everybody had like this complex where they thought, oh, we're going to be the ones to revolutionize the handheld market. Nintendo's been in charge of the handheld market for too long.
And I think the only reason why Sony was able to at least compete with them was because they were already, that was kind of like their secondary thing, so they didn't rely on a handheld. I'm assuming these other companies didn't either. I mean, I guess they had other electronics somewhere else, but I think Sony was established enough. I think Sony was established enough to be able to at least try it.
Yeah, definitely.
Honorable mentions is the Neo Geo the Neo Geo Pocket,
Yeah.
which I have to this day. It is an excellent system. It doesn't have any backlight, but it has an analog stick, an A and B button, and I have Metal Slug first mission, Metal Slug second mission, some fighting game I can't see because it's in Japanese.
Heavy Machine Gun. I love the voice acting in Metal Slug.
Oh, I do too. Car Fighters Clash. That's a good one. Sonic Pocket Adventure. The Match of Millennium. I think that's Street Fighter SNK versus SNK versus Capcom handheld game. Biomotor Unitron. It's a very good game. Dark Arms. It's an excellent game too. Those came out for the Neo Geo Pocket. I know only two other people that had this. It was Neo Geo. Now this was one of those systems, I think, and it was color too. I can't praise this thing enough. It's a very good thing. It had Nintendo to compete with. I don't think there was much they can do. I think they probably it didn't do what it could do because people didn't know much about it. I can't remember them advertising. The only reason I even heard of this because the Brian from Game Trader had told us about it, and we saw him like, oh shit. And the games that came with it were excellent. I mean, Metal Slug and Dark Arms was really good, and had a Sonic game and everything. So,
how much was the console?
Let me look up the price. What was it back then? It was no price. What the hell did I pay for this? I don't remember being like. I thought it was like in the same range of the Nintendo stuff. I don't remember being that crazy expensive, and I can't find a price on it though. It came out in like right around the time Dreamcast was out when I remember getting one. The games were like, the contrast to Neo Geo AES. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for either.
Well, according to PriceCharting.com, it says a new price today, I don't know how accurate this is $153.
Okay.
That's the Neo Geo Pocket Color System, which I'm assuming is the same thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, it should be the same because they didn't have a black and white one they had. It should have been color. So the Neo Geo Pocket is a monochrome handheld console released by SNK. It was the company's first handheld system and part of the Neo Geo family. Debuted in Japan in '98, but never saw a Western release, but collective exclusive to Japan and smaller Asian markets. So I think he ended up importing them, and we got it from him.
Okay, it says the introductory retail price was $69.95.
Oh, okay. I wonder if we picked up one so quick. But then there was a guy that worked at Walmart. I mean, me and my friend, we were going in there to look for some games, just in general. And he had a pocket, so I don't know where he got his. I know we got ours from, but according to this, they didn't release. But then Slackers that I used to go to, he started selling them. So I don't. They say they weren't releasing the West. Didn't see Western release. I don't understand that they did. That's how I got one. I don't think they were like in retail stores like Walmart or Target or anything. But you had to go to like I said, a Slackers or one. I don't think it's GameSpot at the time. Game Exchange or some shit like that. The Neo Geo Pocket is considered to be an unsuccessful console. Lower than expected sales resulted in discontinuation in '99. Like when it came out, it only lasted like a year. It was immediately succeeded by the Neo Geo. Okay, so I have the Pocket Color. So maybe, okay, I guess the one that they brought out before didn't come to the States. But just a regular Neo Geo Pocket, then Pocket Color. Full color, allowing the system to compete more easily with the dominant Game Boy Color handheld, in which also saw a Western release. Okay, that makes so much sense. Okay, so the color made a Western release, but the original one did. Though the system enjoyed only a short life, there was some significant game releases on the system, like Samurai Showdown. Well, that's the game I got. Okay, and King of Fighters R1. Yes, it's a really good system, man. It just didn't. Not many people knew about it though. And the Wonder Swan is another game and a system I remember kind of came out in '99 in Japan. Wonder Swan Color 2000, Swan Crystal 2002, and I think it was compatible with the Pocket Station. It was another obscure. I don't know how obscure that was. I didn't have a Pocket Station, but I remember Wonder Swan though.
Yeah, I remember hearing of the Wonder Swan, but I don't really remember the details. I see. So Bandai made it.
Mm-hmm. Developed by Gunpei Yokai.
Gunpei Yokoi.
Yokoi, okay. Company Kodo Laboratory and Bandai. It was the last piece of hardware Yokoi developed before his death in '97. Released in '99 in the 5th generation of video game consoles. The Wonder Swan and its 2 later models, the Wonder Swan Color and Swan Crystal, were officially supported until being discontinued by Bandai in 2003. During its lifespan, no variation of the Wonder Swan was released outside of Japan. Powered by a 16-bit central processing unit, the Wonder Swan took advantage of low price point and long battery life in comparison to its competition, Nintendo's Game Boy Color and SNK's Neo Geo Pocket. Later improvements took advantage of quality upgrade to the handheld screen and added color. The Wonder Swan is playable both vertically and horizontally, and features a unique library of games, numerous first-party titles based on licensed anime properties, as well as significant third-party support from Square, Namco, and Taito. Is it Taito or Taito? Taito.
I've heard both.
Okay. Overall, the Wonder Swan and all its variations combined to sell an estimated 3.5 million units and managed to obtain as much as 8% of the Japanese handheld game console market before being marginalized by Nintendo's Game Boy Advance. Retrospective feedback praises the potential of the Wonder Swan despite its low price and its brief time holding its own against Nintendo on the marketplace.
So it was a moderately successful console. Now, you mentioned Gunpei Yokoi, who was a designer at Nintendo for many years. He actually made Kid Icarus and Metroid. Well, he was a producer, rather. He designed the Game Boy.
Oh, okay.
He also designed the Virtual Boy, however.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah. Got it. 56.
Yeah, car accident.
That guy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a shame going out, with those things as your last creations.
Last creation. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's kind of how like your boy did. Fuck his name. When he did the Wii U, then he died. Like.
Oh, Iwata.
Iwata. Yeah. I think that was his last thing he did.
Yeah, but Iwata also, he didn't live to see it, unfortunately, but he had a lot of responsibility for features of the Switch.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of his ideas and planning ended up actually succeeding in the long run. He has a lot of other things under his belt also before that, but yeah, it's a shame for both of them. So, then was there anything else?
There was. Okay, here's the list. That's what I was looking for. I found it. Okay. From 1983 to 1998. Here's Sega's hardware timeline. We have in 83 the SG-1000, 84 the SG-1002, '85, the Master System. '87, Master System 2. '88, the Mega Drive. '88, Genesis. '90, Game Gear. 1991, the CD, or the Sega CD. '92, Wonder Mega. I kind of remember that.
I don't remember that.
Unless that's the Japanese name for it. But I see how it looks. I remember the look of it, but I don't remember seeing it in a store or anything. '93, the Mega Drive 2, which is Genesis 2. I guess it's Japan and American. Jesus. '94, the CDX. That was the one I was trying to remember, that the Sega system I was trying to mention. I was talking to you about, I think, the other day. So it had this no screen. I don't know what. It looked like you put a CD in it, but I don't know if it was a Sega CD separate from the Genesis. I never owned this. I remember seeing it, but I didn't know what the hell it was. Sega 32X and Saturn to the Dreamcast, 98, 95, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the CDX, the Sega CDX, that was a doozy there.
I didn't hear you mention the Sega Nomad.
Oh yeah, the Nomad too. They must have skipped. They must have not had that on the list. Oh yeah, the Nomad.
I guess they didn't count it because it wasn't really an original console.
Okay, so you put the console, the cartridge inside the Sega, like you do, I guess, a regular one. I think it was supposed to be a hybrid of the Sega CD and like a regular Genesis, but you put the cartridge in the back or on the top of it, like you would do a regular Genesis. But then it had in front of it was I don't know if you've seen a picture of it or not right now, but
the CDX.
CDX, yeah. It had a CD drive in the front of it. I thought it looked like a portable DVD,
I remember this
CD player.
Yeah, they were doing a 2-in-1 package.
Yeah, and this I think was just turning people off from Sega, like consumer-wise and developer-wise. And then when they finally got to the Dreamcast, where they did everything correct, scrapped doing consoles after that. Nomad. Let me look up the Nomad. Forgot about the Nomad.
The Nomad was a portable console that supported Sega Genesis carts.
Oh, that was the other one I wanted to mention. Not the Nomad, but it was one. Wasn't it sort of a handheld system? Nintendo had too. You put the cartridge on top of it, and it was like I don't know if Nintendo did. It was a third party thing.
Well, you had the Game Boy, the Super Game Boy.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
Which you plugged into the SNES.
Oh no! This contraption was like, it looked like a handheld, but you put a Super Nintendo cartridge in it, and it had a screen.
Oh, the Super Boy.
Oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
Nintendo didn't make that though.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see those occasionally at game stores.
Okay, yeah, I've seen them too.
I wouldn't mind buying one. Shit.
What was the one you just mentioned too? The Game Boy.
The Super Game Boy?
Yeah, the one you put into the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, you'd stick this big cart into your Super Nintendo, and there would be a little extra slot in the big cart to put a Game Boy game, and you could play your Game Boys on the Super Nintendo.
Yep, I had one of them. Metroid was my one of the games I had for that.
Right.
I don't know why I got rid of that.
Some of them had featured backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You could doodle on the screen, change the color palette.
Yep, I had one of those. I think that's all I had.
All right.
The Panasonic M2 was, I would kind of remember that. It was a Panasonic video game console, somewhere about 3DS. Anyway.
Well, I think that's a good place to stop, because I've actually got to hit the road.
Oh, yeah, you did say you had to. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a lot we covered. A lot of history of awfulness and curiosities. I guess that's a good place to leave it. So this is Zuve.
Phantom Outlaw. Signing out.
Have a good one.